Thank you for tuning in to the BHLC podcast. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I got a great show for y'all. I got a great guest. I'm really excited about tonight. Down here at 1481 South 7th Street, 21st Germantown. Y'all come down here. I'm sure they got something going on special tonight. I think it's a $5 entry though. But thank y'all for tuning in. You know, it's the second Saturday of the month. This is why I do my podcast. I got to go over just a couple of things here before I bring in my guest. First and foremost, I want to thank my couple of my people that have put time and effort into this podcast. First and foremost, let me give Dr. Kane of the Smile Center here at 7405 LaGrange Road. He helps keep my teeth clean here. Also, too, I want to give much love to NicoleScottIncorporated.com. NicoleScottIncorporated.com. She has all type of diverse clothing for all type of different gyros. Make sure y'all go to that link or just put in Nicole Scott, NicoleScottIncorporated.com. And she's got a lot of different clothing for you. She's based out of Atlanta. She's doing a lot of great things. Also, too, last but not least, especially in Black History Month, we got Valentine's Day in Black History Month. We only get so many days in Black History Month. Black History Month, that being the smallest month, rather. On Valentine's Day, you're always trying to think of something to get for your mate, okay? I got something for you, but I need you to go to Facebook and put in Millie's Sweet Treats. Millie's Sweet Treats. She got all these different type of sweet treats for you, cupcakes, chocolate, strawberry, cheesecake, whatever. Go there, punch in for it, and get your significant other something nice so you won't be sleeping on the couch on Valentine's Day. Even if you want to get it for your side chick. So definitely do that. I think it's better. Also, one more thing I want to go over real quick. I'm really dedicating my podcast tonight to a real good friend of mine that I've graced the stage with plenty of times here in Louisville, Kentucky. He just passed away the other day. To my good friend, Jamie Utley. May you rest in peace. And this podcast is for you tonight, and I'm going to have some fun. Now that it's Black History Month, I kept thinking to myself, what can I do to have, what type of guest could I have for Black History Month? Because the culture is really important. I always tell y'all, you got to know your culture. You got to know where you come from. There's a lot of us around here that are of nationality, of being Black, don't really know our culture like we should. Well, I'm going to help you with that, because the most important thing for a person that's Black is to know your culture, know your ancestors, know where you come from, okay? I got a real good guest, a good friend of mine, and I'm really excited about it. He runs the Roots 101 African American Museum, and they was just on Fox 41 News in the morning. I'm really excited about having him. I give him a big BHLC podcast welcome to my good friend Lamont Collins.
Thank you for having me on.
Man, I couldn't do it without you, man. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you coming on to my podcast. Why I usually start my podcast is just tell everybody a little bit about what you do down there at the Roots 101 African American Museum.
Well, okay, cool. Well, I'm the founder and CEO of Roots 101 African American Museum. The museum, I call it Roots 101 because in higher education, the first class you take is a 101. So it's an educational journey from Africa to America. You mentioned at the beginning, you said our culture. And it's not really knowing our culture. Culture, it really is the time and space in which we live in.
Okay.
60s had a culture, the 70s had a culture, 80s had a culture. And our culture now is more of a get that bag type of culture, right? What it's about us. Mm-hmm. Or even a song about us, right? You're not like us or whatever. So really, what I talk about is history and what we came from and what we're grounded in the foundation of what we are. So it's more than culture. It's an educational, it's understanding of which we come and the foundation in which we set on. And we never learned that foundation in school. When I went to University of Louisville, I had Pan-African study classes, but to understand the best way I can tell the story or make people understand is when I grew up, I had a lot of Jewish friends. And the Jewish community teaches their kids their history from the time they're 6 years old, at Hebrew schools, things like that. So even if you're playing ball with a Jewish kid, he would not come to practice on the day that he has school. This is after regular school, history school, Hebrew school, where they learn the history, how to write it, how to pronounce it. But it's very intense. And what they're told at a very young age that they're survivors. They talk about the Holocaust, how they came through the Holocaust. They talk about being a Hebrew slave and how they came through that, how they made straws in the brick. So what the Jewish kid gets a foundation of who they are, and what the greatest foundation they get is they're told never forget and never again.
Mm-hmm.
That's profound. Every
Right.
black, white, every Jewish kid here is never forget and never again, which means we'll never let history repeat itself, right? And we'll never forget what we came from. Our black children are never told where we come from. We're not told that we're told we were slaves, but we're not told we're descendants of kings and queens that were enslaved, which is big. You know, a lot of people start with history as slavery. I start history before we got here because we had a history before we got to America. So those kind of things I talk about, and I think when kids come out of roots, they feel different, they walk different because they understand the foundation of what they come. And what that does, it gives them responsibilities to who they are. And when you
Right.
talk about culture, when you get in culture, I'll give you an example. There's a
Okay.
hip hop culture that we grew in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
it's a Snoop Dogg culture we grew in. And that
Right.
whole culture was about, you see those brothers that led that culture, they were trumping and dancing for Donald Trump. So they were all about the dollar, not about the people. So I
Right.
try to teach young people it's about the people, it's about the movement together, the connectivity, because we're still connected to Africa, but America has told us we wasn't. I'm
Right.
about to get an award at a place called I don't Reverend Elliott's Church, King Solomon Church,
Okay. I know
give
the
me an
church.
award. Yeah, give me an
Mm-hmm.
award saying descendants of slaves. Well, I don't even rock with descendants of slaves because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a descendant of kings and queens before we got here. And
Right.
see, and a lot of people took that bait, descendants of slaves, because they want money and reparations. So if they
Mm-hmm.
say my descendants come from America, maybe if white America gave us reparations, I'm the first one to get it. Well, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
worried about that. I'm worried about all of us to get it. A global relationship in Africa to America, the Caribbean, where all brown people are. So I'm about the people, you know. So I love you calling me and say, hey, Lamont, let's do this. I'm always going to be there for the community. And I think the community's been there for me. I mean, we've accomplished a lot of things in the 5 years. Now, we don't have the consistent dollars white museums get. We don't get endowments like white museums get. But I do feel that brothers and sisters understand the importance of Roots 101 and how much we move in the community. But I need to create that tithes and offering type of mentality that every
Right.
month you give us something because we're there to give your kids something 365 days a year. I think you mentioned Black History 28 days, but for me, Black History is 365 days, and
Yeah.
that's what we got to instill in our kids.
Yeah. You hit on a lot of valid points there. You right on it. And you said the kings and queens. I'm glad you said it because every time I tell somebody happy birthday on social media, I approach them as happy birthday king, happy birthday queen, because I know exactly what you're saying as far as African American history, the history. Um, my father was real big on that here in Louisville because I'm born and bred in Louisville. He was real big on that. I know a
Okay.
lot of people here in Louisville, and he was real big on history and with African American stuff. You know, and be honest with you, I'm just gonna keep it 100, keep it a buck all the way.
Right.
And he said there's nothing against white doctors, but he said I got to have a black doctor.
Yeah.
He never. It's just him, and that's just the way he was. You know, he said
Yeah.
because I just feel like they know me and know my body more than
Right.
some white
And
doctors
yeah,
would.
and
So
history tells us how often we were used as guinea pigs. You know, at the Tuskegee Institute, you name it. So America has shown us not to trust the process unless somebody like us looking at the process and doing. So that's a very valid point.
mhm,
Uh, so my thing is to make us understand the importance of one, right? And the
mhm,
importance of one is so, and it's more important today than it's ever. I'm not gonna say ever been, but it's definitely important today because we're seeing things I saw in 1960 when I was a kid, right?
right.
We're seeing equality become a bad word instead of a word of America with opportunity. When I grew up, I loved Kentucky. There's nothing in Louisville that I didn't complete or get being
Mhm,
here in Kentucky. You know, football, basketball, whatever sports, whatever education, Kentucky's been good for me, right?
right.
But I've always been Lamont Collins in Kentucky. I was Lamont Collins in high school. I was Lamont Collins. So I never changed who I was, no matter the environment that I was in. And
Right.
I think when our kids understand they don't have to code switch or anything, they just have to be who they are. And they
Hmm.
have to be excellent in what they are. It's about black excellence. And if we talk about black excellence, there's nothing else to deal with because, we talk about education. When we talk about history, and I tell this in the black community is that We cannot talk about Black history unless we talk about white history. We can't talk about history without talking about white allies. There's white people that gave up everything to do the right thing, you know. But America never tells that story of that white
Mhm.
person that risked everything to what they felt the great thing was. We hear about presidents that had slaves and stuff like that, but I'm talking about families that had wealth, families that did not have to do anything, risk to do the right thing. And when if white America talks about those allies, and y'all could ask any white person to name 5 white allies, and they
Mhm.
couldn't name it because they never told their story.
Right.
They talked about John Brown. He was a crazy white man that took his kids out to kill black people. But there is no story of white allies that risked everything to do the right thing. And those are kind of things that keep America separate because we act like history is separate. Black history, white history is all the same history. It's the history of America, right?
Right.
So when you don't tell one people's story and tell another people's story, everybody thinks the story doesn't come together. But
Mhm.
America comes together through white history and black history because that's when America moved its best is when we work together. You know, not make America great again. You know, America
Right.
great again
Yeah.
came out, yeah, that came out during Reconstruction when black people were free and
Right.
black people had the right to vote. And then they started saying, wait a minute, let's take the right to vote and make them count jelly beans. And then
Mhm.
somebody, which was the Ku Klux Klan, said, let's make America great again. That was their
Mhm.
slogan.
Right.
So white America could take control again. 8 years of Barack Obama gave you Donald Trump. Let's talk about it
Right.
because there were no issues until until Barack Obama became president, and then race became this major issue because it always has been white America when black people are cheating. It's not when they don't care when we do nothing. If we don't do nothing, it's fine. It's when black people achieve in this country that racism goes to a whole new level, and that's what we're seeing today from our
Mhm.
achievement. We just have to stay on that course, and it's got to be collect like this show and other people's show. Every
Mhm.
show you put out matters, right?
Right.
But we have to put out accountability for our brothers and sisters. We can't allow
Mhm.
culture to replace history. We just can't because what happens is if you just take the N word,
Okay.
right? And I
Right.
use that at the museum. I use the N word.
Okay.
Right. Here we are, kids are using the N word every day.
Yeah.
Rappers are using the word N word because they've
Mhm.
allowed culture to make it cool. But
Yeah.
the history of the N word, black people died for, black women raped for, black kids drowned for, black
Mhm.
men lynched for the N word, right?
Yeah.
And we think we made the word so cool that somehow it took the power from the word. No, that
Mhm.
same word that was defined all over the world about the negativity of black people, we were ignorant, all those things, that word is still used whether you use it or I use it. But that
Mhm.
word as culture moves, because the culture now is to use it. Everybody uses the word. So
Yeah.
what happens if everybody uses the word and this white racist came in the restaurant and shot everybody in the restaurant? All the black people said nigga. And then to get in the courtroom and say, wait a minute, you guys say it. So how's a hateful word? So we
Mhm.
can say it. So I think we give so much away chasing culture than to stay with history, because history defines and let us know what are the boundaries we need to go to. I
Mhm.
always say I teach the future, I don't teach the past. Because if I teach the future, we won't repeat the past. So when you talk about roots, it's a future tell. I'm a future teller. I'm telling them what we need to do to move forward.
Okay.
Nothing more, nothing less. And
Mhm.
that's what it's about. It's about all of us.
It
We
is.
have we got to reach to used to be a time when I was a kid, parents used to tell us, well, just be white or better than the white kid, twice as better, 10 times as better. But
Mhm.
now it's more than that. Now it's not just being excellent, it's to be extraordinary. So it's
Right.
a whole new level for our kids to be extraordinary, which means if I'm extraordinary, there's nothing that's going to compete with who I am and what I am. And that's
Right.
what we got. We got to make our children understand. You look at podcasts, you got a great podcast, but I can look at sports guys do
Mhm.
podcasts and they chasing down bourbon in the middle of the podcast or they're
Mhm.
smoking a joint. What kind of accountability are we giving our children if we say you can't even talk a conversation unless you chase it with bourbon? Think about that.
That's
You
true.
can't have, we're telling our kids you can't have a conversation without alcohol being at the table. Or you
Yep.
can't have a conversation without putting N word in the middle of a conversation or a cuss word. We can communicate without using the word N. We can communicate without cussing. We can
Mhm.
do that. But when we allow culture to place the history that we brought up on, we have no we have no basis, no foundation, and that's all I've talked about is the foundation on which we come and where we need to go.
It's you on a lot of great points, and you're exactly right. But it's like I think because today's genre, especially with Generation X, which is a
Yeah.
totally different generation from '70s and '80s and '60s,
Mm-hmm.
and I tell people, and this is just where maybe I am more or less than anything, and I want to get your opinion about this because I want to ask you. I see a person, of course, as a human being first and foremost. But a lot of times, I think in this generation, we judge a person by their skin color instead of them being a human being first, which is cool, but it's not really cool because it's just a lot of things that have been misunderstood and taken out of proportion. Now,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you can't take away our history. As hard as they've tried to take away our history of being African Americans, you can't take away our history first and foremost. So, and my main question to you is, when you, especially a lot of young people more than anything, what do you think one of the main problems is? As far as what's going on now in the culture, not only with violence, just people don't even talk to people no more. Black people don't really talk to people, blacks no more. I'm just trying to figure this out because I've had people on my podcast say, asking me what was the answer for balance, what was the answer for racism. And I told them I can't give you the answer, but I do know love conquers all, something Martin Luther King talked about. And
Yes.
really Malcolm X talked about. I just wanted your opinion on that more than anything.
Well, I think, even Malcolm X, he didn't talk hate. He talked equality, and he
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about what it takes to go to equality. Now he did say, by any means necessary, and that means to protect your family, right? But he
right.
wasn't. He wasn't going out to torch the community. He was going out to educate the community. He was
Mhm.
talking about who they are, what they are, what they can be, right? And
Right,
what he stresses is education, but he stresses equality. And that's
right.
what we're trying to stress today is America doesn't want to talk about equity. America doesn't want to talk about no onions. Uh, America doesn't want to talk about the equality piece. They want to just say being black is just being black in America is no different than being a white boy in America. And we know that's not true. We know that
Mhm.
we know the opportunities that come with color, and we know the lack of opportunity that come with our color. So
Right,
for us to say we understand America because we're going to say we're not black anymore. It's crazy as I know what, because the basis of racism was against black people. And that
right,
didn't change. That's still today. It's still,
right.
it's the black person we can't control is the black person we want to go after. So I'm saying, I did a thing at a school the other day and I told my wife about it.
Okay.
I was at a school, I want to say the school, and the black guy was like the counselor of the school or EO operator or whatever. Brother about 6'5",
Hmm.
and uh, he was so worried that I put chains on some white kids. Oh, Monty, put these shackles on these white boys, and I'm gonna lose my job.
Mm.
I told him, man, if you're so afraid of white people being upset with you, you're in the wrong job anyway. Because this is not what our kids need. We need black men that are gonna stand up and stand out. And you did nothing wrong. I
Right.
showed him. I got these shackles I put on kids and adults, and
Okay.
it's showing you what we've been through, and you're showing
Hmm.
you our struggle. If I put the shackles on a white boy for 2 seconds, and you think it's going to change his life, think about how it changed our life when we had the shackles on for a lifetime,
Thank you.
right?
Yeah.
So I was so upset with the young brother because he didn't get it. As we
Hmm.
need men to stand up and stand out, not shut down and be down. And
Right.
so I was more concerned about the older men than the kids because the kids understand it. They loved it. They understood it. They know what to go back and tell the parents.
Right.
I put on it that they, becoming better ancestors because if everybody's better, the world's better, right?
That's right.
All
Yep.
those one, all goals of all parents is for your children to be better than you. And when I'm at Roots, I'm just pushing the kids to be better than the parents. Go
Right.
to the next level, understand what's going on in the world, and treat the world. It's
Right.
so that's how I operate. So, I love what we do. I love what you do, and
Hmm.
I think neither one of them cancels each other out. They help each other.
Right.
You talking about history. You saying, okay, let me go talk to somebody that's dealing with history, right? I ain't gonna go talk to a basketball player. I'm gonna go talk to somebody, a historian that's gonna give me what I want. And still we can agree to disagree. And that's the beautiful thing is that we should be able to come together and even have a different collective thoughts knowing ultimately is about our children.
Right. And I love that equality thing because I'm real big on that. I love that equality thing because that's what it all boils down to. But sometimes people get scared of equality because it takes some people, especially maybe even other race, some things in a certain circle they're not used to being in. They don't feel comfortable in. But that's part of equality. You're going to be. Some
Yes,
my father told me you got to be uncomfortable to understand something. Sometimes agree
yes.
to disagree, like you said. And if,
Mhm.
so if you're always comfortable, how do you
Yeah.
start to learn
Well,
and grow?
well, I think what I always say is that I make the comfortable uncomfortable so we all can be comfortable. And
That's
that's what
nice.
it's about. You're not
Yeah.
coming in and reading and feeling not you won't feel uncomfortable because it was an uncomfortable journey black people went through.
Right.
Very uncomfortable. But we had to learn to keep moving through it. So to
Right.
have somebody I'm not gonna allow somebody to dictate me how to tell my story. When I started the museum,
Hmm.
I didn't ask white people permission. I didn't
Okay.
ask the churches, but I didn't ask Louisville's permission. I started what I felt I needed to do. And I
Right.
think we need to see more brothers willing to step out, step out on faith and without finances. And that's the history of black people anyway. We just
Right.
got to make it work. So that's my thing. My thing to young people and people like you is that we need to support each other. We don't, like I said, we don't have to agree, but we don't have to burn everybody's house down if we don't agree,
That's right.
right? And
Right.
I think too many times we want to cancel you out because you're not saying what I'm saying. Well, I
Hmm.
don't want to cancel you out. I want to be able to talk to you,
Right.
not about you, but to you. And we learn to talk to each other. That's a beautiful thing. So that's
Yeah.
what we try to do at Route 101.
That is so beautiful because man, I was talking to this person at work and I was telling them I was having you as a guest, Roots 101. And the person said, I ain't gonna say the person name, this is all the person said. I love that place. She said, I've been there
Mm.
twice. She said, I love it. She said, because it educates me, it does everything. She said, I love the environment, I love everything about it. And she said she loves that place.
Well, I
And
appreciate it.
she does. She said she loved it. And I told her I'd never been there. And I said, I'm having her as a guest. And she said she definitely was gonna tune in. But
Yeah.
I just know it's something great you're doing down there.
Well, yeah, I think, and that's good to hear. I'm glad you said that. But there's one thing about coming in the museum and something about the statues and something about our history, and you feel your ancestors circling around you. I
Right,
mean, we had events, and I can't explain how it's like the ancestors are navigating to keep
right.
us in that right place. The whole time I'm there, I've
Mhm.
never had anything stolen that I know of. I mean, nobody's coming to take anything out of the museum. No, never a statue moved, never a dictionary, because people respect what we're doing and what the story we're telling. So when I
Right,
know that, then I know our community knows how to respect and how to love things
right,
that's there. And we're just an extension of our community. We know how to love more than we know how to hate. Big
right,
Mama made sure of that when she told us she loved you when the world didn't love you. So black people are loving people and we're forgiving people. But we also are people of grace, people of honor, and a people of intelligence. And people should never lose sight of the foundation that we came from.
you're right. And love conquers all, like I said. And that's what this person was saying more than anything. She loved the environment. She said she felt the love of being an African American. She felt the love. And I just had to tell you that more than anything.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, so, but that said, please, before we do anything, get out of here. I want you to let the people know exactly where you located and what you're doing. Where you
Okay.
located, because I have a
Well,
lot of
well,
people watch this podcast, and so
well,
if they
cool.
come to Louisville, I want them to stop through there,
Well,
go
thank
through
you.
there, so they can get educated and get some equality and understand what's going on with
Okay.
the
Well,
African.
we located at 124 North First Street, right across from Humana Park. We've been nationally ranked top museums in the country. We've done a lot of things in 5 years, and
Okay,
more people come from out of town to see what we're doing than I get brothers in town because
yeah,
they understand the quality of work that we're doing.
right,
Uh, we're open Tuesday through Saturday from 5 to 6. No, from 10 to 5.
okay,
Uh, we have a thing called Sankofa. We'll have actual singers perform, and
hmm,
people say, "Why do you do that?" Well, first of all, I make sure we don't have a minstrel show. But I
okay,
make sure one thing I know about white America is white America loves black people to entertain them. So what I do, I use music sometimes to entertain white America by educating white America at the same time. And it's the rhythm of our people. It's the rhythm of Black people.
Yep.
White people want our rhythm, but not our blues. So I talk about the blues with the rhythm, so you got to get it all. So that's
That's
one
right.
way I go about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, places are coming people are coming from different states just to see what we're doing in Louisville, Kentucky. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Mm-hmm.
we've already outgrown the space. We're more than 17,000 square feet, and sometimes I still don't have enough space for it. So,
Right. Yeah, I'm going to make sure I get my kids down there to check it out. We're going to come down there, even as a family, my wife too, because I need to
please
see
do.
all this thing. And I'm going to tell you right now, my father passed in 2006. But I'm telling you right now, if he was still alive, he
Mm.
would love what you're doing. I'm telling you now, he would love what you're doing.
Well, I
That's all
appreciate
he
it.
talks.
And,
So,
and it's people like your father that motivated me to do what I'm doing right now. There
okay.
was role models that were out there that always said we should always do the right thing and we should always take care of our young people. And I
Right.
think that's a ghetto model too. When you're in the hood and somebody knows that you got potential, they protect you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was always protected when I was in the hood and when I moved out of the hood. Because
Right.
I think I always had something to offer, and the community always put their arms around me to make
Mhm.
sure there was another day. And I
Right.
think we still have to do that. So many programs want to teach kids how to tie a tie instead of Black
Mhm.
men making ties with children in the community. It's about
Right.
making ties,
Right.
not making ties, tying ties. So there's an African proverb, and I'll leave you with this.
Okay.
It says the greatest king plants shade trees knowing they'll never set up under. So
Mm.
I'm planting shade trees knowing at 66 years old I won't be around much longer. But if I
Right.
plant that tree, it's a tree strong enough for young people to get up under to protect them throughout their life.
Man, you are definitely planting seeds that nothing but straight love for our young African brothers and sisters that can embrace. And I really appreciate what you're doing. I hope people Google Roots 101 African American Museum, hit that link, go down there, and just I tell people a lot of people judge. And I'm gonna say this real quick before I get you out of the room. A lot of people judge before they actually see something or talk to somebody. Go see for yourself. Don't go by hearsay or what this
Yeah,
person, that
that's,
person.
that's
Go
right.
see for yourself.
You're
So,
right, and it amazed you to see it. People come in and they're amazed by the collection that we have. They're amazed by what we're doing. So I appreciate you saying it. And I'm in a restaurant, but I stopped at a restaurant
it's all right. You
to
gotta
interview
eat.
with you, and I
You gotta eat.
appreciate you reaching out to me. But thank you, I appreciate
Man,
that.
appreciate it. And like I said, you more than welcome anytime on this podcast. And maybe I
Let's
have
make
you again back on in the near future because
well, let's make it. And
people
make
need
sure
to
you
know.
go to our website, www.roots-101.org.
Mhm.
We list everything that we do at the museum, and it's I mean, we do some major things. So let me
I'm
know.
glad you, man.
All
I'm
right, my
glad you
man.
said that.
All
I'm
right, be
glad you put
blessed.
it on my platform because put it out there. Put anything you want to put out there because the people need to know. Not
All
because it's
right.
Black History Month, just because you need to know. You need to be educated.
Okay, cool.
So, hey, thank you for being a guest, man.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of the meal.
Okay.
I'm sure you got to eat. I'm sure your wife got to make sure you eat. So,
That's right. All right,
and
you be
you keep
blessed, man.
you keep
Much
being who
love.
you are, King, and much love to you, King, from
All
another
right.
King.
Thank you.
I'm glad I had you as a guest. Enjoy your evening, man.
All
Thank you.
right. Thank you.
Mhm. Well, y'all, that was Lamont Collins from Roots 101 African American Museum. If you're here in Louisville, Kentucky, if you live in Louisville, Kentucky, please go down there and visit and be open-minded when you go down there and go down there and appreciate the love of the culture. Well, not even the culture, just like he said, the history of African Americans. Um, Before I end this podcast, I got to go over a couple of things before I end this. Like I said before, I did tonight's podcast on the strength of Jamie Elliott. Um, I wanted to, I guess I can talk a little bit about, I know a couple of shows we've done. The one thing about Jamie more than anything, a lot of other comedians can tell you this, he would talk to you and try to help you with your stand-up if you wanted to help. So, and he was always willing to talk. I know that. So, good guy. Never had a problem with Jamie. I always one of the first ones to talk to me when I went to the Comedy Caravan. I was kind of me coming through the Comedy Caravan, and this is all from '94 to now. I was trying to grow and everything, and there was times where I didn't want to talk to a lot of fellow comedians. But Jamie, I always talked to him. So Jamie, I appreciate that, and I'm definitely gonna miss you, and definitely ain't gonna forget the shows we done where we had some fun. So rest in peace and much love to you. Now, with that said, we got a Super Bowl tomorrow. That's right. The Philadelphia Eagles against the Kansas City Chiefs. It should be pretty good, as long as the Chiefs don't bring their own referees. Nah, it should be a great game. Looking forward to that. Make sure y'all tune into that. There's some teams that would love to be in the Super Bowl, but I tell people every year, it's 32 teams in the NFL. Only two's going to be there, and only one's going to be left standing. So you just have to, it is what it is. Like I tell the Cowboy fans, I'm great to say this. The Dallas Mavericks probably win a Super Bowl for the Dallas Cowboys. I said it. Now, with that said, make sure you subscribe to this podcast, BHLC Podcast on YouTube. And also go to my Facebook page, Big Head Light Skin Comedian LB, and I Edge as a friend. Just keep doing whatever you're doing out there. Try to be a better person. I appreciate everybody that has tuned in and watched today. I appreciate it if you've done anything for this podcast and supported it. I appreciate that. Just trying to make sure. And also, make sure you come down to the 21st Amendment right here, 1481 South Shelby Street. They have great drinks and food. And I think it's a $5 cover charge after 10 o'clock tonight. I always try to leave my podcast with a positive thought for you to on this. And seeing that's Black History Month, I really want to say this more than anything. First and foremost, we're human beings. So talk to people as human beings first. Judge a person by being a human being, not by their skin color, not by their walk, not even really by their talk. Judge them as a human being. Okay? Keep that thought. Judge a person as a human being first. And try to spread love if you can. With that said, I'm a Big Head Light Skin Comedian, which stands for BHLC Podcast. And thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your evening. The next podcast is March 8th. Second Saturday month, March 8th. And I have another great guest. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for the support. I love you and enjoy the rest of the evening. I love y'all. And make sure you subscribe to this podcast.